Greetings and welcome back.
Hello and welcome back
Words of
to
Life,
the Words
Prophetic
of Life
Daily
Daily
Devotional.
Your more sure
word
of
of
prophecy with Sean A. Mitchell.
A.
Well,
Mitchell.
we're going to continue on in our series, Jesus' Sayings for Successful Living. We've now come to episode 12, and let's just go straight to the scriptures. Let's look at Matthew 5, verses 27 through 30. And today we're going to start in the Amplified Version, and it reads as following. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who so much as looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye makes you stumble and leads you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation, for it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. If your right hand makes you stumble and leads you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That is, remove yourselves from the source of temptation. For it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. Well, I think that this is quite obvious that you should not commit adultery. You know, when you marry someone, you go into covenant. And I really believe that in today's society, there are so many people who don't value that particular word, covenant. And for the most part, a lot of people really don't understand it. They look more at a marriage as something that's more contractual, and that it's something that is more led based off how you feel in the moment. But that's actually another episode. But here, Jesus is telling, the listeners who, as he's here still on the Sermon on the Mount, he's telling them that, you shouldn't commit adultery. And I think everyone understands that. But then he goes on to say, but I say to you that everyone who so much looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery for her in his heart. And that's the thing. All evil proceeds from the heart. Adultery proceeds from the heart. Fornication, murders, envy, all these different things really do proceed from the heart. What is the heart? Well, the heart is actually the combination of your spirit and your soul. That's really what it is. And so there are dimensions that are still even inside of the heart of a believer. Now, that's the soulish part. And it's only the engrafted word of God which is able to save your soul. And so that part there has to be saved. So salvation comes really in three parts. You are immediately saved, and that's your spirit. You are being saved, and that's your soul. And you are immediately saved at the coming of Jesus Christ, and that will be your body. But it's that soulish part that actually is where the real struggle happens to be. And it's that part of the heart that here Jesus is really talking about. So when you look upon a woman and you desire, that's the word lust, you desire that woman, you've already committed adultery within your heart. And then he even goes on and he begins to connect that here in verse 29. And he says, if your right eye, he now connects that, because if you look at her, now he starts to deal with what has produced this. And we know it's the heart, but it's also the heart working with the eye. And then he goes on to say that if your right eye makes you stumble and leads you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. That is, remove your source of temptation. So we know he's not really talking about, cut your eye out physically, but what he's talking about is, remove that temptation from your eyesight. There are certain types of spiritual disciplines that we all can have. And men are actually more visual than anything else. And women are actually more verbal. They like verbal conversations, and that is how women actually get into it. So that the thing with women is that they have to remove, the simple fact of communicating too much to someone that is not the person that they are actually in covenant with. It also goes on to say here that, if your right hand makes you to stumble, cut that off as well. And that deals with the moving forward into the thing, which is actually the physical touching. In the Passion Translation, it talks about the eye, and it says if your eye seduces you to fall into sin. So your eye can seduce you to fall into sin. And it says, then go blind in your right eye, for you're better off losing sight in one eye than to have your whole body thrown into hell. And of course, that is the same thing. Remove yourselves from looking at this particular woman, or you have to create spiritual disciplines. And I'm going to just share one that I've actually learned. And one of the things that I do, say, for instance, I'm in a supermarket or some particular place. And the thing about men is that we can detect beauty from far away. It's almost like a sniper with a scope. We can just hone in to a beautiful woman. And it's just something built into us. The Song of Solomon talks about a man and how that man looks upon the woman. So God created men to be visual. That's how we are. But yet and still, even though we're visual, we have to learn disciplines. And this is what got King David in trouble. It's when he looked across as he was on his porch, he saw Bathsheba. And we all know that particular story. But one of the disciplines that I've learned is that if I'm walking down an aisle in a shopping supermarket or whatsoever, that I would literally drop my head and till that woman's feet passed, I would look. And once her feet passed, I would put my head back up and continue walking and not to turn away. David even understood this afterwards, where he made a covenant with his eyes not to look upon a babe. And so the temptation that we deal with is actually found in 1 John 2, verses 15 through 17. This is New King James Version. It says this: do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away in the lust of it, but he who does the will of God abides forever. And that's what we want to do. There's three particular things here that stands out. It's the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Well, Jesus really begins to deal with two of those, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes. And so one of the ways that we deal with the flesh, if we walk in the spirit, we won't fulfill the lust of the flesh. I've given you an example of how to deal with the lust of the eyes. So I pray that this has been helpful to you. This has given you some things that you actually can take with you and help you to not find yourself into an unfortunate situation and being a covenant breaker. Please write to me at info@sam-ministries.org. Even go to my website, www.sam-ministries.org, and you can subscribe to the Words of Life Prophetic Daily Devotional. I would love to continue to serve you daily. It will come straight to your inbox. If you feel led in your heart to sow a one-time seed or become a partner with Sean A. Mitchell Ministries, as a man purpose in his heart, so let him give. And also, I'd like to continue to serve you on every Wednesday with my podcast, The Creation of a New Humanity, and where we are building the new race, the Christ race, one man, one woman, one marriage, one family at a time. Please subscribe to that as well. And I will see you tomorrow. Signing off, Sean A. Mitchell from your Prophetic Daily Devotional, The Words of Life, your more sure word of prophecy.